Dear all, welcome back to Engineering Geology class sessions. In previous class under module 4 we are discussing natural hazards. Today let us discuss one more natural hazard, that is cyclone. So cyclones are the natural hazards caused due to the meteorological reasons. Cyclones are any large system of winds that circulates about a center of low atmospheric pressure in a counterclockwise direction north of the equator and in a clockwise direction at the south of the equator. Cyclonic winds move across nearly all regions of the earth except the equatorial belt and are generally associated with rain or snow. So when the question of anticyclones comes, they are so called because they have a flow opposite to that of cyclones. That is, an outward spiraling motion will be there in anticyclones, with the winds rotating clockwise in the northern hemisphere and counterclockwise in southern hemisphere. These winds are usually not as strong as cyclonic variety of winds and commonly produce no precipitation. Cyclones are also seen in the extraterrestrial planets. We have some evidences of that. So we can see cyclonic effects in Mars, Neptune, etc. There are mainly three types of cyclones. Let us see one by one. Tropical cyclones, polar cyclones, and mesocyclones. So these are classified on with the reference to the different types of storms. Okay. So tropical cyclones are what the most people are familiar with, because these cyclones that occur over the tropical ocean regions. Hurricanes and typhoons are the actually types of tropical cyclones, but they have different names, so that it's clear that where that storm has been occurring. Hurricanes, which are found in the Atlantic and northeast Pacific, are known as hurricanes, whereas typhoons are found in northwest Pacific. Polar cyclones. Polar cyclones are the cyclones that occur in polar region like Greenland, Siberia and Antarctica. Unlike tropical cyclones, polar cyclones are usually stronger in winter months. Mesocyclones. The name itself says meso means middle. Mesocyclone is a cyclone that occurs when part of a thunderstorm cloud starts to spin, which may eventually lead to a tornado. How these cyclones have been formed? Tropical cyclones form only over warm ocean water near the equator. To form a cyclone, the warm moist air over the ocean rises upward from near the surface. Okay. As this air mass moves up and goes away from the ocean surface, it leaves less air near the surface. So basically, as the warm air rises, it causes an area of lower air pressure below that region. Air from surrounding areas with higher air pressure pushes into that low pressure area. Then this new cool air becomes warm and moist, and it rises too, and the cycle continues. As the warm moist air rises and cools the water in the air form of air, it forms clouds. Okay, the whole system of clouds and wind spins and grows, fed by ocean's heat and water evaporating from the ocean surface. As the storm system rotates faster and faster, an eye forms in the center. Okay, it is very calm and clear in the eye with very low pressure. Higher pressure air moves above and flows down into the eye. So this is how the formation of cyclones takes place. This figure clearly explains. Being very low pressure region, this is the eye of the tropical cyclone. Cyclone categories. There are mainly 5 categories of cyclones. So in category 1, the wind velocity is up to 125 kilometer per hour. So it gales here, and whereas the ocean swells, okay, up to 1.2 1.6 meter, and trees, farmland get damaged. Okay, here the swelling of ocean or damage is comparatively less uh, when we talk about the category of compared to category of 2. Okay, in category 2 the velocity of wind gust is 126 to 169 km per hour. It's highly destructive, and minor house damages occurs, severe damage to trees, heavy damage to the crops. So in category 3 the highest velocity is up to 224 172 224 km per hour, very destructive. So structural damage may occur here, and house roofs and power failures, these are all the things get affected. And category 4 225 to 279 km per hour, it's highly destructive, and significant roofing and structural damages takes place. So in category 5 winds above 280 km per hour, once again too much destruction takes place, it's highly hazardous. More than 5.5 meter tides occur, almost total destruction of the houses and cars takes place, anything, and it is extremely dangerous. So what is the difference between, people say cyclone, typhoon, hurricane, etc. What is the difference between a hurricane and cyclone and a typhoon? The only difference between hurricane, cyclone and typhoon is the location where the storm occurs. Hurricanes, cyclones and typhoons are all the same weather phenomenon. The mechanism or phenomenon is same here. We just use different names in different localities. If it occurs in Atlantic and Northeast Pacific, the term hurricane is used. The same type of disturbance or natural hazards occurs in Northwest Pacific, it is called typhoon, and cyclones occur in South Pacific and Indian Ocean. In our area we call this natural hazard as cyclone. The ingredients for these storms include pre-existing weather disturbance, warm tropical cyclones, high moisture content, and relatively light winds. If the right condition persists long enough, they can combine to produce highly violent winds. So what are the causes of cyclone? The main source of energy for cyclone is warm ocean, okay, in that too in tropical regions. To initiate a tropical cyclone, the sea surface temperature generally needs to rise above 26.5 degrees centigrade. However, the existing cyclones often persist as they move over the cooler water. The development of tropical cyclones also relies upon the favorable broad scale wind regimes and can persist for several days with many quite erratic paths. They lose their source of energy when they move over land or colder oceans, causing them to dissipate. Weakening may also occur if the cyclone moves into an unfavorable wind regime, which disrupts the structure of the system. Sometimes a decaying tropical cyclones may interact with the weather condition in higher latitudes to cause impacts from the tropics. So what are the impacts of the cyclone? The main impact of the cyclone includes heavy rainfall, very strong wind, large storm surges at landfall, and tornadoes. The restriction from cyclones depends mainly on its intensity, its size, and as well its location after the cyclone has been passed. Devastation often continues. Some of the impacts of the cyclones are like this. First one is wind. The wind from a category one cyclone cause minimum damage to shrubbery and trees. Category 5 storms are the most forceful, most powerful, bringing winds of more than 156 km per hour. So wind this fact can rip the trees from the ground and flatten buildings. Cyclones that fall in between cause varying degree of distraction, including tearing of branches from trees, destroying vegetation, etc. So flooding, cyclones can cause or they can produce flooding into two ways. First one is tropical cyclone frequently causes a surge in the ocean water, causing sea levels to rise above the normal sea level. These surges, sometimes called tidal waves, and can drown the people and animals, and are often greatest killer in cyclone. Cyclones can also bring torrential rain. That too, this thing also leads to flooding. Then erosion. A cyclone's high wind can erode the soil, thereby damaging the existing vegetation and ecosystem. This erosion leaves the area exposed and prone to even more wind erosion. Sand and soil that is blown into other areas can damage the vegetation of that locality. Then storm churn. Storm churn happens when a cyclone winds churn up cold water as it moves across the ocean. This churning lowers the water temperature after the storm has passed, squelching the formation of new storms. This map shows the coastal areas of India, which has been highly affected or prone to cyclones. The total coastal area, especially the Gujarat coast and Kerala coast and the east coast, the total part of east coast and much part of west coast is affected or prone to cyclones. With 6% of the world's wide cyclones, then the Indian subcontinent is one of the worst cyclone affected areas of the world. About 8% of the total land area, particularly along the eastern coast and Gujarat coast, is vulnerable to cyclones. Indian Ocean is one of 6 major cyclone prone region of the world, and on an average about 5 to 6% of tropical cyclones are formed in the Bay of Bengal only and in the Arabian Sea every year. The eastern coast is more prone to cyclones. The total cyclones generated in the Indian Ocean strike the east coast of India. There are two definite seasons of cyclones in the North Indian Ocean. One is from May to June and other is from mid-September to mid-December. So let us see some severe cyclones which has been suffered, okay, which has been recently held in India, and people have suffered a lot. In West Bengal, the cyclones named Komen held in 2015, okay, in Rohanu 2016 and Mora 2017. In Andhra Pradesh also, the cyclone named Lehar occurs in 2013 and Hudbud in 2014 and Kiant in 2016. In Kerala also, cyclones named Nada occurred in 2016 and Vardha in 2016. So cyclone Nisarga is the second pre-monsoon cyclone that has been emerged from the Arabian Sea and is expected to hit Goa and Maharashtra and Gujarat during this year only. So cyclones Amphan, cyclone Kiar, cyclone Maha, cyclone Vayu, cyclone Hika, cyclone Fani are some of the severe cyclones which has been proved that was very hazardous to, very devastating to Indian territory. So here are the names of some cyclones with their respective dates, and the peak classification has been given here. Then what are all the effects of cyclones? Cyclones cause very heavy rainfall and landslides. They cause lot of harmful to towns, villages, causing severe damage to kacha house especially. Coastal businesses like shipyards, oil wells are destroyed and cause many deaths in ocean, and money can also lost if the ship is carrying expensive cargo. They harm the ecosystem of the surrounding regions, and the civic facilities are totally disturbed. Agricultural land is severely affected, especially in terms of water supply and soil erosion. It cause harm to human totally, okay, uh, as well plant life and animal life. Communication systems are badly affected during cyclones. Cyclones are the upper ocean heat content, vertical shear of the environmental wind, interaction with other weather system. It is the impact of dry air and landfill. So social costs includes here loss of life, livelihood, loss of crop, leading to the food scarcity everywhere. Education and other services are completely destroyed due to cyclone, and increased burden over the government to rebuild these areas which have been affected, and mean for other projects must now be used for the repair work, or to overcome the damages from cyclones. Cyclones can make sewage pipes block up and stop working, and the sewage can split everywhere, which also causes the induced diseases. So safety measures of cyclones: check it with your local councils of or your buildings control authority to see if your home has been built to the cyclone standards. Okay. Check that the walls, roofs, and the total home is highly secured, and trim treetops, branches, make it well clear surrounding of the home, and you have to get council permission, municipal council permission, and preferably fit shutters, or at least metal screen to all glass areas. Clear your property of loose material that could blow about and possibly cause injury or damage during extreme winds. So when a cyclone watch is issued, what we have to do? Recheck your property for any loose material, and tie down all large or relatively light items such as boards and rubbish bins, and fill vehicles fuel tank. Check your emergency kit and fill water containers. Ensure household members know which is the strongest part of the house, and what to do in the event of cyclone warning and evacuation. Tune your local radio or TV for further information from the administration, and wait for warnings. Check that the neighbors are aware of the situation and are getting prepared. So when the cyclone warning is issued, people should evacuate as fast as possible. Okay. So if requested by local authorities, collect children from school and children care center and go home. Park vehicles under solid shelter. Put wooden and plastic outdoor furniture in your pool for or inside with other loose items. Close shutters, board up or heavily tape all the windows. Disconnect all the electric appliances. Listen to your battery radio for updates. Stay inside and shelter in strongest part of the building. If the building starts to break up, protect yourself with mattresses, rugs or blankets under a strong table or bench, or hold on to a solid fixture. Okay. For example, a water pipe. Beware the calm eye. If the wind drops, don't the cyclone is over. It's not like that cyclone is over. Violent winds will soon resume from under direction. Wait for the official all clear message. Don't go after this cyclone, don't go outside until officially and it has been advised from your administration. Check for gas leaks. Don't use electrical appliances if wet. Listen to local radio for official warnings and advice. If you have to evacuate or did so earlier, don't return until it has been advised by local administration. Use recommended route and don't rush. Beware of damaged power lines, bridges, buildings, trees, and don't enter especially the flood waters. Do not drink water from unknown sources as it may be contaminated. So let us see about cyclone forecasting. Cyclone forecasting involves predicting where a tropical cyclone is going to track over next 5 days, every 6 to 12 hours. The forecasting has evolved from a single station approach to comprehensive approach, which uses a variety of meteorological tools and methods to make predictions. The weather of a particular location can show the signs of approaching cyclones, such as increasing swell, falling barometric pressure, increasing tides, and heavy rainfall. So other than these hazardous things, cyclones have some tropical cyclones have some benefits also. So although the tropical cyclones are known as very destructive, when they strike, they also bestow certain benefits to the climatic conditions of the area, such as relieving the drought conditions. And how to manage cyclones? There are many structural and non-structural measures for effective disaster management of cyclones. The structural measures include construction of cyclone shelters, construction of cyclone resistant buildings, road links, bridges, canals, drains, saline embankments, surface water tanks, communication and power transmission networks, etc. So cyclones are a type of natural disaster which cannot be prevented but can be predicted, and the damage can be reduced, it can be minimized. The process of cyclone formation and intensification is described as cyclogenesis. So thank you dear friends, let's meet in next lecture. Till then, goodbye.